Okay, shall we?
Yeah,
Is it time?
yeah, let's get started. And of course, people will come in as they're able. We're humans first
And foremost.
and foremost. Indeed.
Wonderful. Welcome everyone to the Kearsarge Food Hub annual meeting. This meeting will be recorded, just as an FYI. Thank you all so much for being here. We are your hosts. I'm France Hahn, co-founder and executive director, and this is my colleague.
Yes, I am Hannah Flanders. I know many of you. It's great to see you. I am our Director of Community Engagement here at KFH.
We're so happy to have you here with us as you're settling in. You know we love you to be in the chat, so please, we encourage you to share who you are, where you're tuning from, and most importantly, what are you eating for dinner tonight? So, Peter, we want to know what's in that bowl right now.
Janet's got a bowl. Barb's cooking. Let's hear what's on the plates or in the mugs tonight. I'm drinking some chamomile tea.
We've got chamomile tea.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
it's lovely.
So the theme of tonight's meeting is growing together, harnessing the power of strategic collaboration to strengthen our regional food system and our local communities. To start, we would like to acknowledge the land on which we work and live. We are on the unceded land of Indakina, which has long served as a site of meeting for Abenaki people for thousands of years. Bradford Springs provided healing waters, and people exchanged goods at the village site behind Lake Massasauga, calling this land home. Kearsarge Food Hub honors and recognizes these Abenaki as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we live and work today. We commit to respecting and helping protect the lands within our use and to share the bounty with our Abenaki partners today. We are incredibly grateful to Sherry and Daryl, Lynn and Mike and all of our Abenaki partners for their incredibly collaborative and caring approach. We've been in partnership for 5 years through the Abenaki Seed Project, and we've cultivated a really incredible community. And really what's so special about this project is that it's an emblem of what a collaborative approach does and brings. And we really think that it's what's really needed today. Lauren is going to pop into the chat a link if you'd like to sign up for some seeds and join us in the Abenaki Seeds Project and grow some Three Sisters with us. You can sign up for some free seeds. Tonight, we're going to take this opportunity to report back to you, our dear community, about all that we accomplished together in 2024. We did a lot, and we did it because of you. It's really work that is supported by donors, by farmers, by food producers, volunteers, and so many caring hands and hearts. Before we begin, the schedule for this evening will be as follows. We're going to hear about very exciting work. The very first New Hampshire Food and Agricultural Strategic Plan has just come out. We'll hear from Nicole Cardwell. She's the director at the New Hampshire Food Alliance. We are just so excited to share this with you all, and we were so honored to be a part of it. And then we'll have some time for Q&A right after that. Next, we'll dive into a presentation of KFH, really focusing on our impact in 2024. We'll share a little bit about our finances and a little bit on where we're going. And then we'll wrap that up with a final discussion. We can't wait to hear from you, answer your questions, and all that good stuff. A little housekeeping. Lauren is here to provide technical support, so send her all of your questions, including how to cook your dinner. Just kidding. But if you do need support with specific spices or anything, she can probably help with that. We do, as I said before, use the chat, pop your questions in there. We use them to facilitate discussion, and it's just so nice to see folks engaged in that way and can be really helpful for us and for all of you to engage with each other. And we encourage you all to connect with each other as well. Please do remain muted. We will mute you if needed. And of course, we just love to see your faces. Zoom is so wonderful because we can tune in, but we do miss being in person. So the camera is helpful to that end. and no pressure, of course.
Mm.
And finally, we really respect your time with us tonight. And so you can expect that we'll wrap up at 7:30, pretty sharp.
7:30, pretty sharp is when we're going to wrap up.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
thank
right.
you, France.
And now to set a little bit of context for us is Hannah.
Yes, so in promoting this event, we encouraged everybody to take a break from the news to tune into this kind of proactive, positive vision for our food system. And of course, that's exactly what we are going to do tonight. But we do want to take a moment to set the context and bring some of that news into the space, because a lot of what is happening right now is incredibly relevant to the food system work that we're doing, that the New Hampshire Food Alliance is doing, and that we're all here because we care about. So I just want to name a couple of those issues that you might be following along in the news right now. So for one, we are seeing food assistance programs being defunded or otherwise under threat. Programs that support millions of Americans, including our most vulnerable groups, our children, our elderly, our disabled community, our veterans. Cuts to SNAP, that's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, are making their way through Congress right now. Here in New Hampshire, about 1 in 18 folks rely on SNAP to afford groceries. So that is a very effective program for putting dollars into the pockets of families so that they can buy food. And it's currently under threat. Programs that support fresh produce, the purchase of fresh produce, like the Granite State Market Match, also being defunded right now. The Granite State Market Match is implemented by the New Hampshire Food Bank. It's something that we accept at Sweet Beet Market along with SNAP, and it gives 50% off fresh fruits and vegetables so that folks who are using those assistance programs can prioritize fresh food. Local food purchasing programs, like the Local Food Assistance Program that helps food pantries purchase fresh produce from local farms, as well as the Local Food for Schools program, are also being defunded or have been cut completely. That means that our food pantries and our schools are not as equipped to prioritize and purchase from our local farms. At the same time, we are seeing a federal funding freeze to grant programs that support our farmers. These contracts that the farmers have with the government have been frozen. Contracts that help farmers develop climate resilient practices, that help farmers develop critical infrastructure. Many of these grant programs are already in process. That means farmers have been paying out of pocket that were otherwise going to be reimbursed or matched by these programs. So this is directly affecting farm viability, specifically for small and medium-sized farms who do not have the runway to wait and see how these federal funding freezes are going to play out. So this is stressing an already deeply stressed population of our farmers, and it's compromising our ability to respond to climate change through agriculture. And finally, the Farm Bill is a massive piece of legislation that governs everything from food assistance programs to farmer assistance. It was supposed to be passed last year. It's passed every 5 years. It has been extended through this year. And with all of these policy choices and trends that we're seeing, we're really worried that this farm bill is going to tend towards putting more money in the pockets of large corporations and farming practices that do not take into account climate-friendly practices, as well as generally not feeding us or nourishing us in the ways that we deserve, that we need, and certainly threatening the affordability of our foods through the cutting of SNAP. So no matter where you fall on the political spectrum or what you think about these issues, the reality is this is going to create and is already creating short and long-term impacts on our ability to feed ourselves and adapt to climate change. So this is the news that we're quote unquote taking a break from tonight, but this is very much the reality, the context in which we are working, and the issues that the Kearsarge Food Hub, the New Hampshire Food Alliance, and our whole network are working to address each and every day, because business as usual in the food system, specifically prioritizing short-term profit, is an enormous threat. It's an enormous threat to our food security, to our environment, to the well-being of our Main Street businesses. And it's also, more importantly, an opportunity. It's an opportunity to invest in our local and regional food systems. It's an opportunity to do exactly what we're doing tonight, which is coming together, figuring out how to be proactive in our communities and really take care of each other. So with all of this in mind, let's get started with our programming tonight. I am very thrilled to introduce our first speaker tonight. As Franz mentioned, we have Nicole Cardwell, who is the program director at the New Hampshire Food Alliance. The New Hampshire Food Alliance is a network builder here in the state of New Hampshire. They have been a very close partner of ours at KFH for many years now. And they have just spearheaded the creation of the first ever New Hampshire Food and Agriculture Strategic Plan. It's very exciting. So I'm going to pass it off to Nicole to share about the plan with us.
Thank you so much for having me. We're going to get this technology going before I start speaking. All right. Can you see my slide, everyone? Yep. Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me. To the Kearsarge team and to all of you, it's so nice to get to see your faces. And I've worked with the Kearsarge team through the last few years, as I'm new to the New Hampshire Food Alliance a few years ago, but I have not yet gotten to meet the broader Kearsarge community. So I'm really thrilled to get to see some of your faces and be part of this annual meeting. So I am Nicole Cardwell. As Hannah said, I'm the director of the New Hampshire Food Alliance, and I am just thrilled to be here with you tonight to tell you about the launch of this milestone project for our state. Before I dive into that, I'm just going to, in case you don't know what the Food Alliance is, I just want to tell you, it is a statewide network. We're housed at the University of New Hampshire, a program of the University of New Hampshire, and we bring together, at last count, over 220 organizations, businesses, and communities like the Kearsarge Food Hub that all work on strengthening our local food system in some way, shape, or form. And our job as a really small team in the middle is to try to understand what organizations exist, what type of work they're doing, and how we can help everyone work most effectively together. Find places where we all overlap. So the New Hampshire Food and Agriculture Strategic Plan was released almost a month ago, just a few weeks ago. And it's the first time that this has ever been done in New Hampshire. And so it's a huge moment, and it's a huge opportunity for transformation. That's my favorite way to view it. The idea with the New Hampshire Food and Ag Strategic Plan is that there are so many people, experts, experiences, organizations, businesses, problems across the food system in New Hampshire. And we needed to come together to really put pen to paper to document what are the what can we all agree on are the current conditions, are the challenges, are the opportunities and assets we can build upon, and where do we all agree we need to go next? What are the things we can agree upon that will strengthen this food system one issue at a time? So I'm going to walk you through what that means in practicality. We got to do this work with the authority and funding from the New Hampshire Department of Agriculture, Markets, and Food. And we're just so honored that they asked for our help and gave us the opportunity to engage with our whole network in a really meaningful way to bring this together. The New Hampshire Charitable Foundation also founded it, and the Henry P. Kendall Foundation. And then I just want to mention that the UNH Cooperative Extension team, who I hope many of you know, really lent a huge amount of in-kind support to making this happen. All of the 27 working groups that got together, almost all of them had at least one cooperative extension person on the team. So I consider them one of the leading organizations in the development of this plan. Certainly wouldn't have happened without these 4 organizations, and the New Hampshire Food Alliance was really honored to lead the charge. We had an advisory group, 26 advisory committee members that represent an even wider group of stakeholders across the state, including New Hampshire Center for Justice and Equity, New Hampshire Community Loan Fund, NOFA New Hampshire played a really critical role, and they helped to guide the process along the way. And that is only a small portion of the organizations that had a very active role in the development of this plan. It's been over a year in the making. We had, I'm forgetting my statistics at the moment, but we had over 40 events, engaged with more than 600 different individuals to seek input before the writing even started. And in this picture, I think this one, Hannah's in this picture. You can spot her in there on the one on the right. And so the process started over 18 months ago, and finished with the publication a couple weeks ago. We've gotten great press about it. These are 4 examples of articles, so word is getting out, and I hope you're seeing mention of it in some of your local papers. But by the numbers, I mentioned 26 advisory committee members, but what I get most excited about is that we had 118 individual subject matter experts, individual human beings representing over 89 organizations that are authors on this strategic plan. You're looking at 2 of them in the chat right now. Franz and Hannah co-authored 1 brief each, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a moment. And our subject matter experts were each asked to speak to one of these product, market, or issues that were deemed really crucial to the New Hampshire food system. Through the process, we learned so much. And one of the things that the plan offers is a lot of great data. If you in your work or in your interest in the food system want to explore what the New Hampshire food system looks like and really see data behind a lot of these issues that we all care about, that's part of what you'll find in there. There are, for example, looking at how many farms are engaged in each production category. I find it fascinating to see how many of our 4,000 farms in New Hampshire, how many of them raise cattle or grow berries. One of the most fascinating bits of data that our advisory committee focused on was this farms by value of sales. I think in New Hampshire, we talk a lot about how small our farms are. And this really drove it home, because if you look closely, you'll see that 65% of our farms gross less than $10,000 in sales. So those are very small farms in the scale of agriculture in the United States, even in New England. That's very small. Under 50,000 you get over 70 or 75% of our farms. So they're really small, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just helpful to understand the reality so that we can allocate our resources as a state to support people who are passionate about growing food. And that's how I've tried to look at it. This is another one that is, I think, interesting to paint a picture of where we are. 70%, and just don't even look at the chart right now, look at the caption above it. 70% of New Hampshire farms in 2022 had net losses. So their expenses surpassed their revenue. That is a shocking number, right? And it really changes how one looks at farming and growing food in New Hampshire. There are farms that are financially able to support themselves and their families, but they are in the minority in New Hampshire agriculture. And while this can be viewed as discouraging in some lights, it's been happening for a while. This data is not, we looked back in time, and it's not that different. Then it's been around for a while. People just haven't, I think, looked at it so clearly maybe before in such a group analysis. And I think that if we're able to accept this reality, we can help support those that are growing food and find ways to do so. And so when we were working on the strategic plan, we developed, one of the first steps was to develop this vision statement. What is the food system we want to work towards? And I am not going to read it to you because I'm not a believer in reading off of slides, but I want to say that I want to talk about the Kearsarge team for just a moment and say that when I think about the food system we want to work towards in New Hampshire, the Kearsarge team is a source of inspiration for me, always. Ever since the first few times I interacted with them, And I don't think I need to tell you all this because you're their supporters. But the lightness, the humor, the positivity, the deep collaboration, the bringing together of all these complex issues that you all work on, and they weave them together in this seamless way that make it fun somehow. It's an art form. And it inspires us statewide. And I mean that with all of my heart. And so as I think about the food system I want for my state and my children and our food community, I often think of Kearsarge as inspiration. I just want you all to know that. So back to the strategic plan. Oh, I love those hearts. So the strategic plan, there's a lot of it's a huge body of information. And so I want to just be clear with you all that there's the same information, but two ways to access it. There's a big PDF that we are having printed, some hard copies, and there'll be opportunities to get one of those if you like a hard copy. I am guilty of that myself. And the same data, the same information, text, everything is also on the website in an interactive format that we designed so that we all can access it and use it in the ways that might be helpful to us. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that. So we're back to the by the numbers slide. This was not repeated by mistake. We focused on some of these numbers before, and now we're going to talk about the 27 product, market, and issue briefs. So these briefs, when we talked at those 40 events to those 600 plus people, we asked, what are the key issues? What are the key products, markets, and issues that are really important in the New Hampshire food system that we should make sure to consider in this plan? And those are the 27 briefs that were developed. The Kearsarge team directly contributed to these two, and I thank you for that so much. The direct-to-consumer and consumer education brief, and food hubs and collaborative marketing. But as I think about Kearsarge and as I hear you all talk about the work, there are so many briefs that you do related work to. There's nutrition access and security, food system literacy, home and community gardens. That I could fill the slide with briefs that your work has a role in or touches on. This is the list of all the briefs. You can see those on the website in a way that's easier to digest. And all of these issues were considered, or these topics, I should say, were considered through two lenses: equity and farm viability. And I can speak to that later if you want to hear more. So I want to walk you through a quick anatomy of a brief. Because depending on who you are and how you want to use these, we hope it was built in a way that's useful for you. The what's at stake section shows, like, why should I care about this? So you might use that if you are speaking to a state legislator. If you are a state legislator and you're trying to sell an issue to your peers, this is a really concise summary of why this matters. Current conditions is current conditions. Where are we at as a state on this issue, and what data do we have around it? Challenges, very concise. What is really challenging about this? And then opportunities. We really pushed people to not just do the flip side of the opportunity as the challenge, as we also often do with challenges and opportunities, but rather to look at that as assets we can build on as a state and as a community. The data and graphs there, I think, are lovely, and you are welcome to use them however you want. They are a community resource for you all. So this is one where it shows the current retail food cooperatives across the state, for example, and market share for New Hampshire's grocery sector. So some really interesting information if you're interested in the grocery market, the grocery sector's local sourcing. Recommendations, each brief has up to 5. They all used their 5. Some of them used more recommendations. And we asked for them to be really specific and to be varied in terms of what they, who and what they were asking for. So you'll see a little bit more of those in a moment. And then if you're wondering where all this information came from, the incredible authors for each of the briefs is listed right there as well. if you want to, I'm going to just show you one quick little, I'm going to show you the interactive web version for just a moment. Am I doing okay on time, Hannah?
Getting there. So wrapping up
Yes.
soon so that we can answer questions would be great.
I'm wrapping up.
This is awesome. Thank you, Nicole.
So the interactive web version has all of the information we talked about and that I showed you and more. You can download the PDF right here. You can see if you're interested in a specific brief, if you want to learn about wasted food, for example, food waste, or soil and water, supporting future and beginning farmers. That's another one Kearsarge feels so on point with. Then you can open that up and see all of that information, the charts. You can download the PDF of that brief if you want a printer-friendly version. And then there's a bonus thing on the website, and that is organizations working on this issue. So there are organizations that work on this issue listed underneath here. So if you're wanting to learn more or get involved, you can. Okay, I'm going to go back here and wrap up and say that the plan was long in development. It was a lot of work for many people. I'm really proud of us. I'm really proud of our state. I'm really proud of all the authors, the advisory committee members. I'm even proud of myself. And, but this is only the beginning. And we've talked about this as a team as this is a collective resource that we made together, and we're going to move it forward together. And so the next steps for this, for the strategic plan, what's next is often the first question. For now, the next step is that we host an annual gathering in May, and it will be the official launch of the plan. And you typically have about 200 people across the state that come together, and each of the breakout sessions is focused on moving forward at least one recommendation of the plan. So that's the next step here, but the future for it is really the New Hampshire Food Alliance trying to coordinate around it and trying to help use this incredible body of information and knowledge to coordinate our network so we know who's doing what and how we can help each other make progress. So I want to say thank you, listeners, for listening to me, but also for supporting the Kearsarge team and all of the incredible work that they do. It's just, I am so, there's an Anne of Green Gables quote about, I'm glad I live in a world, I'm glad I live in a world with Septembers or something. And that's how I feel about the Kearsarge team. I'm so glad I live in a world with the Kearsarge Food Hub. Thank you for supporting them. And thank you, Kearsarge team, for having me and for all your contributions to this strategic plan, to our broader food community. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, Nicole. Wow, thank you. Delightful.
Amazing work.
Yeah, this is a really big deal for the state. It really is. It's going to provide a lot of direction and a concrete plan for us to move forward in a collaborative way. I think we'd love to hear if anyone has some questions for Nicole. We want to open the floor up to you all here. I have not been looking at the chat.
Raise your hand or just
pop
off
on.
mute and share reflections, questions.
Oh, we got a shy crowd tonight. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 minute.
Well, you really covered a lot, Nicole, which is perhaps what's happening is like we're all just soaking in all of the information, and you really hit all the bases. I'm really impressed by how action-oriented this plan was. Julio says I need to marinate. You would say that, Julio. Marinate. It's fantastic. Where can I pick up a printed copy? From Barb S. Barb Schultz. Hello.
It's a good question, Barb. I don't know yet. We're still figuring out how many we're printing, and we'll have them at the statewide gathering. If you really want one, shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get one. Or I'll send you an extra one home with Franz and Hannah at the statewide gathering. But we're not going to focus on print copy distribution, just because they tend to collect dust. But if you are someone that really wants one, we'll get a pile to the Kearsarge team to give out to your community.
Yeah, I think having some at Sweet Beet.
Yeah, we'll have
if
some.
you do, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
People would love to that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that the recommendations are broken out by category of stakeholder most likely to be able to move forward with action is just, we've been in the work for 10 years now and been in a lot of spaces, networking spaces, meetings, and they're all valuable in their own way. But sometimes what can happen in network building is we don't quite know how to take that next step to make action happen, right? So
Yeah.
the way that you formulated it, very action oriented, and it gives a lot of hope. And like you said, direction.
Thank you. It feels like a really positive thing this year when we all need something positive. And I was amazed by how it's come together, by all the amazing people I got to meet the last year and its development, by seeing the connections and progress made just because those meetings happened. I can give you an example if you want, but it's just been a really fascinating experience. And I didn't mention that we're doing this as part of a New England collaboration. Maybe that might be interesting to folks that, or did I mention that?
Oh,
No,
go
I
ahead.
didn't.
That's a good piece. Yeah.
I didn't mention that. We represent New Hampshire along with the New Hampshire Department of Agriculture, Markets and Food. The Food Alliance and Department of Ag represent New Hampshire in this partnership called the New England Food System Planners Partnership. It's just like the worst name of all time. And they run the New England Feeding New England project, and it's basically a collaboration of all the New England states, their statewide network, like New Hampshire Food Alliance, and then the Department of Ag, or in Rhode Island, it's the Department of Commerce. And and so this whole plan came out of that partnership. The partnership is all about understanding what we're doing in the different New England states, working together and trying to do things in parallel or in lockstep. Vermont leads the way on a lot of things. They developed a strategic plan, their second COP version of it, much like ours, a few years ago, and encouraged us all to do the same as the next step in moving forward to strengthen our regional food system. And New Hampshire is the second state in New England to do it. And I am so proud of us. Rhode Island is finishing theirs next month. And Maine and Massachusetts are their conversations happening. So the idea is that each New England state has a strategic plan, food and agriculture strategic plan. They're all built similarly. We've made some modifications based on how Vermont did it that I think worked better for our state. Rhode Island made some of the same modifications, some different ones. So everyone's doing a slightly different iteration, but they're all briefs, they're all recommendations. We're the only one with an online interactive format, I will say. I feel like bragging rights about that one. And we're all working together to share it and get it used. And I'll say there was a question from Barb. Barb, you're my favorite participant so far, I've got to say. Will I be doing a presentation to state legislators? Yes. I have a presentation on the schedule with the House I'm going to get it, Agriculture and Environment Committee in a couple of weeks. Representative Peter Bixby was on the advisory committee for the plan, and so we've been in conversations with him and Representative Aaron about getting it in front of more state legislators, but already multiple state legislators have used it as they're going into the new legislative session to say, what should I propose? What's needed? And then they filter the recommendations. I didn't show you that piece, but you can filter the recommendations by what they are. So you can just look at the policy ones. What policies were proposed as recommendations. And then you can filter further. You can say, oh, I'm really interested in natural resources, or I'm really interested in equity, or whatever you're really interested in, and it filters them further. And then from there, state legislators have this short menu of options where then they can work backwards and see what author recommended those, what data is behind them. They have 3 sentences to say why it matters already, really well written. They have everything they need. And so we've already seen a handful of policy of bills put forth from this work. And it's out so recently.
And so real quick to wrap up, one last question, speed round. What can you expand on any priority or two for action that you see as any action that you see as a priority from the recommendations that come off the top of your head.
A recommendation from me for like the Food Alliance?
From the plan, any recommendation for action from the plan that you see as a top priority for the state?
For the state. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a great one. I think that there are so many, and there are so many incredible recommendations, and things from that you would expect, like protecting farmland and how to do so. And I think the beauty of this thing is that we talked about a prioritization exercise, and the part of the beauty of this is that there is no need for a prioritization exercise. There are hundreds of organizations working on these issues. And we are all I think the challenge is, how do we organize this information in a way that we can see who's doing what already, and where are there gaps, and where do we need to combine forces? I think it's an information management challenge. And I kind of like that way. I want to lean into that way of looking at it.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so, so, so exciting.
That's a
If
great.
I could ask the governor. No, I no more questions, right, guys?
No.
I'll think about that one, Peter.
We'll have another Q&A at the end,
yeah,
so we can maybe circle back then.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of feeling like maybe we collaborate for some sort of in-person in our community room. You come in, maybe we invite some of our local legislators, and be in person to really dig into this, because as you said, it's only the beginning. So
only the beginning.
we'll have more opportunity to really move this forward.
I would love that.
Leon has a comment.
Yeah, Hannah, I was gonna throw that question right back at you.
Oh,
So while you and France were part of this plan, there are 149 of these recommendations. Which of these recommendations resonate with the Kearsarge Food Hub? Which ones are you saying, this is where we want to focus?
well, why don't we let that, as Julia would say, marinate to the end of the evening. One thing that comes to mind just quickly is those statistics on farm income and how farm viability. We heard about it from Seth Wilner at our Love Local event last November, which is a real urgent issue, is that the people growing our food are not able to make a living wage. And that is a core drive of the work we do here at KFH. So we might as well dig into our presentation, unless you have.
No, let's I think it's a great question, and we'll marinate.
We'll marinate. Maybe it's the question of the year.
Yeah.
There's no need to.
So we're gonna hop into our presentation, which covers 2024 primarily, and all of the work that we've done together. So we do like to start a little bit just with the context. We are the Kearsarge Food Hub. We are based in Bradford, New Hampshire, and we serve the Kearsarge and Greater Lake Sunapee area. But of course, our work extends beyond this region to encompass the state and the region, because real food security lies in a regional approach. For the last 10 years, we have held a vision.
Oh, sorry.
Of a resilient and connected community where all neighbors are empowered to access healthy local food, where farmers are supported and the land is nourished, and all neighbors share common sense place. And so for the last decade, we have steadily grown our organization in service to this vision. We are celebrating 10 years, and here you can see a quick view, a couple photos that show what things looked like back in 2015 and how things started. We started as a small roadside farm stand. We were growing on less than half an acre of land, and we were run by 6 volunteer co-founders and supported by many, many, many friends and community members who volunteered not only their time, but their resources and their expertise. And so flash forward.
Let's flash right
We're
forward.
flashing forward. We really like to share this little snapshot here, our community at a glance, because it shows the web of care and support that emanates from this community. So in 2024 alone, we supported 6,870 neighbors with donations of fresh, healthy, local food. We served 4,500 customers in Sweet Bee Market and Cafe. We supported 255 local food producers with direct purchasing. We hosted 250 students on Sweet Beet Farm. We were supported by 560 donors and 50 incredible volunteers. And all of the work was carried out by our incredible team, 32 individual employees and 13 board members. It really takes a village of coming together and asking for care when we need it, and showing up to provide care when we have the capacity to do so.
Yes. And so, so we bring that vision to life, and this web of community support comes together in 5 distinct but interrelated program areas here at the Kearsarge Food Hub, represented by this design here. And, you know, Pierre, our farm manager and co-founder, and I sat down with Tom, I believe, from the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners, MOFGA, where we are now certified organic through this organization, since New Hampshire has cut its certifying program last year. They're an incredible organization. They did a little article on us. I encourage everyone to read it. It's beautiful. It's on our website. But he wrote this quote, which I just love. I think it really symbolizes how the programs work together. The spokes of a food network created by the hub radiate out from the garden and greenhouses of Sweet Beet Farm and farms throughout the region to the market and cafe. And from there, they continue to reach food pantries, into college dormitories and classrooms. The organization in turn receives support from the community in the form of a robust volunteer program and fundraising efforts that are essential in fueling the Food Hub's nonprofit programs. So we are going to go program by program, but please just remember that it is all interrelated, and we often have conversations about how to slice the pie, so to speak. But these are our program areas currently and certainly in 2024. And we're going to start by taking a look at food security. So food security really underpins our work. Everything that we do is about increasing the flow of food through our community so everyone has enough to eat, not only enough to fill our bellies, but nourishing foods that nourish our bodies, our minds, our community connections. So food security includes immediate hunger relief efforts while also investing in long-term food security for our region. So this looks like a food donations program that purchases, again, from our local farms to channel to 7 local pantries on a weekly basis, as well as to stock our community fridge, seen here, multiple times a week, so that neighbors in our community can stop by and grab what they need when they need it, no questions asked. And in 2024, the value of the food that we donated was nearly $120,000. And what's really remarkable about this food donations is the pantries order from us exactly what they know their clients want, and 71% of the food that we donate is fresh produce. In addition to food donations, we have an ongoing discount program at Sweet Beet Market. So we have discount days at the market where we offer 15% discount to our military community on Wednesdays, 15% off to our senior community on Thursdays, and 15% off to our career farmers on Fridays, because very ironically, the farmers who grow and feed our communities, as we saw, the business models aren't always viable for a host of reasons, struggle to put food on the table. And so we are striving to address that and to honor the work, the essential work of our farmers with this small discount. And we're certainly always aiming to do more. Now, what makes this an investment in long-term food security for the region, one aspect of that is because we are purchasing from our farms. Many of our farm partners, we know, donate lots of food, and that's amazing. But we also want to send dollars back into their pockets. And that is what is going to make our farms viable and able to feed us into the future. So buying from farmers, directing that food into the community is what our food security is all about. These numbers are great, but hearing from our food access lead, Cassie, is even better, because she is the boots on the ground person that is organizing this work on a day-to-day. So I'm going to pass it off to Cassie.
Thanks, Hannah. Hi, my name's Cassie, and I'm the food access lead here at the Kearsarge Food Hub. As Hannah mentioned, we work with 7 local and regional food pantries, And a vast majority of what we donate specifically to these food pantries is fresh fruits and vegetables. And we have kind of a unique way of doing that, in which we source all of that as locally as possible from our local farms. As Hannah mentioned, that's really important to give money back to our farmers. And one of the ways that we source this food is actually through a donation program, though, which I want to talk a little bit more about, which is the Main Street Garden. It is just an incredible initiative that we've been working with for the past 40 years now, which is wild to think that it's been 4 years. The Main Street Garden, which is run by Colby Sawyer College, but more specifically by Leon Milan, who's on the call tonight, as you all probably saw. It's a very important partnership for the Kearsarge Food Hub. The unique thing about Main Street Garden is that it grows produce specifically to be donated. So not only is it an amazing educational tool for our community, but they grow food with the sole purpose of it going back to our community in that way. And so essentially they grow it, they distribute it either directly to food pantries or to us, and then we distribute it out from there. And the Main Street Garden and the Kearsarge Food Hub have a relationship where we're able to work together to make sure that we're really providing a source of food sovereignty for our community. And essentially that's a big word to just say that folks have the right to healthy and culturally appropriate foods. And so we, as Hannah kind of mentioned before, we allow our pantry clients to have a say in the food that they're eating, and we essentially allow them to order food specifically from us to make sure that we are hitting their needs and their wants as best as we can. Specifically with the Main Street Garden, we worked together to create a crop plan in the spring of 2024 to make sure that we were really hitting the foods that our pantry clients needed most, and maybe even sometimes like hitting the foods that I had a hard time accessing from our local farmers. So one example is greens, and that is a direct response to our food pantries telling us that that is their most needed item. And being able to work together and create that crop plan to fill those gaps is not necessarily the norm in food donations, but something that we hold really, really close to our hearts. And so it's amazing to have that relationship. By the numbers, the Main Street Garden produced 1,274 pounds of food, not all together, but that's just what was donated to the Kearsarge Food Hub, which is over a $7,000 fair market value, which is just incredible. And I think it's a beautiful example of what can happen when we get folks from all parts of the equation together at the table and try and think of really unique and creative and tangible ways that we can address some of these issues. I do sadly say that this is Leon's last year producing on the Main Street Gardens. He's retiring in the coming months. And while that is kind of an end to a program, I have to say just how incredibly grateful I am to have had the support and the partnership that the Kearsarge Food Hub was able to foster with Colby Sawyer and Main Street Garden is just incredible. And I think, as it's becoming, more and more likely that we will need more of these creative and tangible solutions as, our food pantries are, they really rely on federal funding. And so now with some of that funding being potentially compromised, it's really important that the Kearsarge Food Hub is able to remain a consistent and, weekly and reliable source of donations. It's really important right now and always, but with current times, it's something that is on top of mind, I think, for a lot of people. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cassie. We are going to miss the Main Street Garden. And as a beautiful, important community space, and we're looking forward to seeing how it might evolve or adapt, or otherwise others come in to fill that space and continue the legacy that Leon and that garden helped create. Thank you, Cassie. And you know, Cassie's food ordering from our farm partners doesn't stop with food donations. She has also been responsible for managing and stocking the shelves at Sweet Beet Market. Sweet Beet Market and Cafe are two intimately linked programs, ones that if you're new to KFH and just tuning in, you might be most aware of, but just know it's all one. It's under the umbrella of the Kearsarge Food Hub at 11 West Main Street. When you go to Sweet Beet Market and Cafe, you are connecting with, as Franz mentioned in the slide of, you know, our community by the numbers, 255 plus local and regional food vendors. What Sweet Beet Market and Cafe does so beautifully is it represents the bridges that we're trying to build between our farming community and the people who need to eat food, which is all of us. And so it's not only a reliable market outlet consistently year-round for our farm partners, it's also a reliable source of food for our rural community, which is very special and very important. And of course, last year serving 4,500 customers at Sweet Beet, those customers shopping at the market and cafe collectively sent back over $500,000 into the pockets of our food producers. And that is a truly astonishing investment in our local economy. And that's only possible by the collective action of people coming in and shopping and eating and bringing their friends and family. Sachi's pictured here, bringing back a bunch of goodies. I think she's on the call. Hello, Sachi. Thank you for coming in and sourcing for the grazing room and just generally being a great friend. You know, in the market, you're going to find all of these fresh local products, not just produce, but grocery items, meat, seafood, dairy, all of these critical areas, not only to our bodies and our nourishment, but, you know, in sectors in the agricultural system. We are really careful and attentive to reduce waste in our food system. So Cassie and the whole crew spend a lot of time calculating orders and then otherwise curating, you know, at the end of the week, what goes into the fridge that can still be used or sent up to the farm for compost. And then there's Julio in the kitchen, who is managing all sorts of farm produce excess at any given time and turning it into delicious meals. We're going to hear from him in just a minute. And Sweet Beet Market and Cafe is not just about finding the foods we need, it's about building community and sharing space. You know, this is a space where we are interacting with the farms that feed us. So this map here is the visual representation of all the farmers and food producers that are represented in Sweet Beet Market and Cafe, that little yellow star in the middle. And it's a beautiful and important story to tell. When we started as a farm stand, our goal was to source from 30 producers within a 30-mile radius. We're talking hyper local. Let's get to know, you know, the farmers in our region, what's being grown, how to grow food ourselves. But as Franz mentioned, to really grow and expand into regional food security, you have to take a regional lens and really broaden the borders of where we're sourcing from. So we have 63 vendors within a 30-mile radius from 2024. 109 total vendors within a 50-mile radius, and then 79 regional vendors coming from, as you can see, our neighboring states. And that just means you're getting more variety of delicious local products at Sweet Beet, and more food producers are being supported when you're spending your dollars at Sweet Beet. The best person to speak to kind of the community and the food that's flowing through Sweet Beet is Julio. He is our head chef in Sweet Beet Cafe. And so I'm going to pass it off to Julio.
Hey there. Hi there. Ho there.
Hey.
Julio here, representing Sweet Beet Cafe. I've been with these guys for 2 years now. Very cool. 2 years. Yeah, so in that time, I've made so many connections within the Kearsarge community. And something that I've noticed about the community is like, it's how aware we all are of our ability to affect well-being, just like to affect change. And we all want to impact make a positive impact. So that's something that I noticed that we all have in common, and that's why we all choose to shop local. And the ways that that's good for our health on a personal level, and also good for like the health of the ecosystem. local produce, as we were saying before, less waste. The farming practices of who we're supporting is so much more working with nature rather than working against nature. That's something that we're nurturing. The nutritional value of the food that we're getting, it's higher. So these are some ways that I know we all are on the same page about that, and that's why everyone here is choosing to support the mission here at the Kearsarge Food Hub. So anyway, I just wanted to touch base on that, because after thinking about that and a very clear impact, it made me think a little bit as well. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit. What I think is important is that I get to share these one-on-one interactions with our patrons basically every day that I work. And whether that is I'm sharing something new with someone that didn't realize this about our food systems, or we're just both sharing our passion for the subject matter. Like those interactions really reinforce the mission of what we have going on here. It reinforces it for me. But then taking a step back a little bit, I thought about also I'm often considering the physical well-being of us on a personal level and our ecosystems, our food systems. But it made me question how often might we consider like our social well-being, or even taking into consideration that it's part of our overall well-being. So I thought about that, and it made me realize all of the interactions I get with our patrons every week is really fulfilling my need for that social well-being. I can feel the community there. We're social creatures, and so it's nice to feel that. And then diving into that a little bit deeper, I'm recognizing that we show up for the community week after week to be able to give everyone what they need. And then in turn, it's very noticeable to see how you all show up for us. And that's, week after week. It's every weekend. I see the same faces. Everyone's just coming in because they believe in what we're doing, and maybe they really like the food. But also I can feel that everyone is just wanting to show their support for what's going on here. They believe in what we're doing, and they just want to show up for us because we're showing up for you also. And in that, I am understanding it's the way that we're showing that we can rely on each other as a community. And so
Thank
just
you.
the last 2 years that I've been here, that's kind of what I've noticed about the community. And I was just happy to be able to share these points, and just thank you all who do come in as often as you do. And that's really all I have to share with you all. Just wanted to share some about my perspective.
Well,
So-
yeah, and it is the food for sure. Not only the community vibe, but people come for the food. You
Oh,
make
yeah.
delicious food. Alex is back there in the kitchen making delicious food.
Oh, shout out to my great staff who always has my back.
And as some would know, we did experience a fire in the building in February, but we're excited to be reopening with a limited menu on Saturday. So we'll be cooking
And
once again.
yeah, honestly, having the kitchen shut down for this amount of time has made it very noticeable to me that I've been missing that social well-being I didn't even completely consider. So thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much, Julia. You touched on the community aspect, and that certainly weaves into every single thing that we do here at the Kearsarge Food Hub. But it is also a program in and of itself, because we invest a lot of time and energy into figuring out how to do just that, how to build community around food, so that no matter where you are in the community, as a farmer, as an eater, as a resident, there's a place to connect. And so we do that through things like Feed Kearsarge. Food expansion, education, and distribution is a shared initiative that we developed with partners in our region in response to COVID. But really, it is based on helping neighbors access seeds, seedlings, and gardening knowledge at its base so that we can, as Cassie said, move toward food sovereignty. It's not just food security and knowing the food's going to be there. It is reclaiming the knowledge of how to grow food in our backyards, on our porch, in a container, in our kitchen. There are so many ways to grow food. And thanks to the Tray It Forward project and the Abenaki Seeds project in 2024, we were able to distribute collaboratively 11,000 seeds and starts to over 330 home and community garden sites, which is just tremendous. I am so grateful to our partners who helped that become a reality. Kearsarge Neighborhood Partners, Spring Ledge Farm, Colby Sawyer College, the Abenaki Trails Project, the Hopkinton Historical Society, and others certainly who have come and gone within the realm of these shared initiatives. It's so special. And in addition to that, we're always looking for ways to come together. This annual meeting, our annual community fair in September at Sweet Beet, our online Love Local educational event. These are annual opportunities to come together and to learn. And last year, over 700 folks were able to join us for free to connect and learn about our local food system.
Mhm.
Speaking of farms,
Speaking of farms, Sweet Beet Farm. So we have been developing Sweet Beet Farm for approximately 5 years. It is a certified organic farm that prioritizes regenerative practices. Now that I've said that, regenerative, I think it's important. It's a step beyond sustainability. Sustainability would mean to not harm something, right? To not harm the ecosystem. And so regenerative goes beyond that to improve the system. And ultimately, of course, unsurprisingly, we've come back around to the understanding that we really just want to facilitate nature and how she works and to let her do what she does best. And for example, very briefly, increasing biodiversity on a farm. So instead of monocropping, ensuring that we have diverse crops, but are also implementing cover cropping and crop rotations would be considered a regenerative practice. We grew in 2024 over 20,000 pounds of food on less than 1 acre using these regenerative practices, which is really, really incredible. And we distributed all of that really healthy, delicious, local, fresh food throughout our community, certainly at the market and the cafe and our food donation programs, but also to other markets like the Concord Farmers Market and Local Harvest CSA. One of the things that's really special about Sweet Beet Farm is that we've operated with an open source model. And so what that means is that we have researched and tested a lot of strategies and low-tech innovations and systems. And when we find things that work, we then share them with other folks. And so last year we began a partnership with NOFA through the Transition to Organic Partnership Program, and we mentored a farm to transition to organic. So part of that, of course, is the nuts and bolts of, becoming certified organic, but it's also about sharing what works for us as an organic farm, things like the crop planning or our compost system. And so I think one of the big successes of the farm last year was really honing in on the composting system. It is an efficient and low-tech system that we implemented, and we were able to divert really an incredible amount of waste. Of course, everything that's on the farm, but also all of the pre-consumer waste from the market and cafe. And so as a regenerative farm, being able to close the loop in this way and divert all of that waste to create fertility on the farm was just a really big deal and a really big success for us. And again, something that we will continue to share with other farms. Of course, Sweet Beet Farm is home to all of our all of our curriculum-based educational programs. Last year, we hosted 250 students on Sweet Beet Farm. That's a 25% increase over the previous year. We have, over all these years, grown the programs to essentially create a pipeline from first grade all the way to college students and beyond, culminating in an apprenticeship program. The goal of those programs are to grow farmers. We do understand that not everybody's going to become a farmer, so it's also a goal of ours to create conscientious food eaters. Last year, we were so fortunate, so lucky to have 3 incredible farm apprentices. One of which is, I'm gonna pass it off to. His name is Jake McCormick, and him and his partner Cassie, that you heard from just earlier, have already started their farm and will be going off on their own next year. And we couldn't be more excited, more proud, and more honored to have stewarded that process. Jake, take it away.
Jake.
Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Jake McCormick Lishier. I am the farm production coordinator at Sweet Peat Farm. Just a little fun fact, when I was 5 years old, I told my mom that Jake and veggies do not go hand in hand. And here I am, a organic vegetable farmer and someone that's looking to do this for the rest of his career. And so my journey began 6 years ago, well, 6 seasons ago, at the Main Street Garden at Colby Store College. That is where I was introduced to the local food movement. And prior to that, it was something that I had never really delved into. My family has always been a sit at the dinner table and gather around a meal type of family. But I had never made the connection on the power that having local produce has in a community, but also for the individual. Following my graduation at Colby Store College, I had the opportunity with Cassie to be an apprentice at Sweet Peat Farm. And I didn't know it at the time, but this would forever change the direction that my life would go in. I quickly learned that working on a farm, hands-on in nature, outdoors every day was something that I became quickly passionate about. And I was very fortunate that when that apprenticeship ended and had probably one of the best summers I think I'll always remember, I was hired full-time on the Sweet Peat Farm. It has been such an amazing journey to see all the things that I'm going to learn, that I have learned, and all the things that I still have yet to learn. Something that has been very comforting over this journey is understanding that I'm never going to be done learning. After the first apprenticeship, that first season on the apprenticeship, I thought I knew everything there was about farming. We successfully grew produce. We were loading up the back of a truck with veggies and flowers, and Cassie and I would look at each other and be like, yeah, we got this. We're going. We're good. But over the last couple of years, I've quickly learned that there's so many things. There's so many parts of the farm, the season, nature is just that pulls it. I mean, you get pulled in so many different directions, and with these experiences, you are quickly humbled by nature and reminded every day the power that it has and how grateful we are to have a planet that can sustain us and nourish us. On the farm, it's been really important to learn the impact that food has on our bodies. And for me, I have learned quickly the importance of having a healthy, nutritious diet while working and keeping care of myself and having a clear mind, having a body that's able to work outside, doing physical tasks every day. And that's something that Pierre has really helped me with at the farm, is learning how to cook good food. It's something we do and we try to do every week, is have at least one meal together where one of us cooks, and we learn how to cook all kinds of lentils, chickpeas. This last week we made some really yummy tacos with homemade corn tortillas. It really shows that food is the center of everything for us as a society and as a community. And it's been really amazing to be part of the journey with everyone here at the Kearsarge Food Hub and to have been one of the first rounds of apprentices And I'm always going to be thankful for the opportunity we've had and that they gave us. And I'm super excited that this summer we'll be able to sell produce from our own farm. So keep your eyes out for produce at Sweet Pea Market in local areas from Blaisdell Hill Farm of Sutton, New Hampshire. And hopefully we'll be able to do this for a very, very long time and just be part of the network here at the Kearsarge Food Hub.
Wow.
Oof.
Wow.
Thank
You can, yeah, thank you. You can see Cassie and Jake got married on their farm this summer. It's the best photo of the slide deck presentation by far. Love that. Thank you for sharing. The stories have been great. This is amazing. We have a little bit more of the presentation to go, and we do want to make sure we have time for a couple questions. I'm sure everybody right now is thinking like a burning question, like where does the money come from and where does it go? Well, I have really good news for you. Lauren is going to tell you all about it.
Indeed, I will. I'm going to keep it relatively brief though, because we're behind schedule a little bit, which is to be expected. Overall, 2024 was a really great year for KFH. Not to mention just the financials are great, but the team, I mean, you're hearing from a lot of the core folks today, and it's just best team ever. So honored to work side by side with you all. The financial side, we did total revenue in 2024 of just under $1 million. We started our first season making $25,000 farm stand, so quite a bit of change has come in all that time. I'm just going to kind of break down so that everybody understands what this table represents here and these pie charts. Sales here represent the farm market cafe revenues. The cost of goods sold are everything from farm inputs to the products we buy from our vendors to sell in the market to make into yummy food in the cafe, as well as packaging, food waste, shipping, those kinds of things. Service revenue represented about 2.5% of our income. This is the first year really that we charged that we had a robust education program with a sliding scale fee structure. So that was about 25,000. Sales contributed about 42% after cost of goods to our total revenue. Individual contributions, which is donations directly from individuals like you and businesses in our community, represented about 20% of our total revenue. Government grants, negligible. We haven't really relied on government grants since our inception and kind of created this model, this diversified revenue model, in order to avoid unpredictable dependence on grants, which we're very fortunate currently not to rely on that. Non-government grants, which also represents in large part direct relationships with donors through foundations and donor advised funds that comprise about 30% of our total revenue. Special events represents our raffles and auctions that we do as part of our fundraising efforts. That was less than 2% of our total revenue. Donated goods and services, less than 2%, but around 13,360, in fact. That represents the donations from Main Street Garden, as well as Peony Place, donates sourdough bread every week to our fridge, which is amazing. And then the other income there, that 19,000, is predominantly interest income from our reserve funds that are courtesy of a very generous gift in 2023 that provided passive income through investment at Malden Mutual Bank, a mission-aligned bank based in the New England and New York region, as well as a government money market fund. And then the total expenses breakdown. Can you go back, please? I'm so sorry. Thank you. Functional expenses there. Programming represents farm market cafe, farm education, and food donations. We've got administration in there, which is HR, bookkeeping, etc. And then the fundraising chunk as well. The distribution of expenses is pretty much right on target with standards in the nonprofit sector. Around 72% of our expenses go directly to our programming, and then about 19% to admin and 9% to fundraising. Our net income was 91,000, which you might always hear about zero-based budgeting. something that we do is we always plan for a buffer, a margin of about 3 to 5%. Last year we exceeded that, and we're so very grateful for all the support in sales and donations that made that possible. Key takeaways from this really are just how vital community trust is. Increasing contributions, signals such strong local support and alignment with our mission. Efficient spending, more than 72% of our expenses directly go to mission-based programming, 28% to supporting activities which are essential to making these programs work. And sustainable growth, this revenue diversification, not relying on government grants, but really forging our own sustainability in that way, has contributed to success over time. And strategic investment, putting money to work and cultivating a financial future for KFH in the long term is vital to our long-term success. That is all.
Hey, and there's so much more to dig into. We have really great news for you because our annual report's about to come out, so you can spend time with this incredibly important information. Thank you so much, Lauren, for helping us understand, because the viability of our nonprofit in dollars is integral and essential to how we're able to grow into the next 10 years from us.
So what's ahead? This year, of course, we'll be celebrating 10 years. We'll host some special events. We look forward to connecting in person and celebrating. It's important to cultivate joy when and where we can. But really, we're going to celebrate by reflecting, and we're going to take time and commit to forming a strategic plan. The past 10 years have been characterized by learning, innovation, and growth in many areas. The first 5 years were experimental. We had a non-hierarchical grassroots model. And then the second 5 years, we honed in on programs. We continued to innovate and face some pretty steep learning curves, and overall really matured as an organization. When COVID hit, it derailed a strategic planning process, and out of necessity, we entered into a bit of a reactive model. And so now we have a relatively solid financial foundation, and we can really take the past 10 years of learning, of gaining expertise, of really understanding our food system and how to run a nonprofit. And we're going to take all of that and chart a path, an intentional path forward. So we've begun the process of formalizing our values, which we expect to have ready for you all sometime in the summertime. And then we'll launch into a strategic planning process right after that. And so really what you can expect is that in this next year, we're going to remain as steady as we can, given that we are in a relatively uncertain national and global context. And we're going to take a breath and really evaluate our programs and our organization. We're going to be auditing them and really understanding how we can increase our efficiencies, how we can leverage our strengths, and really show up to meet the needs of our community today.
And we're a little bit behind schedule. However, this is probably the most important part of the evening.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a lot of information. And we're hoping folks have some thoughts and questions.
Go right ahead, folks. Nice work. Thanks.
Just want to thank our program, our team leaders, some of our core team, for showing up and sharing about your day-to-day work. It is really special to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Are there any questions, folks?
It takes a second, so.
Dana, 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 Dana. Who's gonna do it? Wow. What a quiet crowd tonight.
Okay, I've got one.
All right, who's that? Hunter?
Who is it? Who is it?
It's Hunter.
Go ahead.
Would you talk about those priorities that Y- Yeah, that you guys had said you maybe would talk about in, at the end. Thanks.
Yeah, like what we would tell or ask of the governor and otherwise set as priorities. Well,
Yeah, I've got one.
please.
We currently have, so we look at Vermont a lot because Vermont is ahead of the game when it comes to supporting the local food system. One of the challenges that we've had in New Hampshire is that we have really some amazing work being done on the ground level. What we don't have is support from our government. There is, yeah, again, all of this work that's happening. So when we look at Vermont, they have created, they have grassroots and they have top-down work, and that way they're really able to advance work like something like a strategic plan forward. And I do think that there's a place for our state to come together. Funding would certainly be ideal, but any kind of resources that, yeah, could just be used to bolster all of the incredible work that is happening in New Hampshire. So I think that that is one priority, and I know that it's in some of the briefs that we worked on, is essentially how to access funding in a more, in an easier way. And Nicole, I don't know if you want to.
I can add something. I think I would say that with my citizen hat on, not my employee of UNH hat on, I think that I would like to say that the repeal of the dividend and interest tax, that I don't know if you all are familiar with that situation. It just put so much pressure on the state budget. And so we've seen that impact a lot of programs that we care about. So for one example is, and a lot of bipartisan issues like farmland protection. So there's a program that we've spent 2 years working on with the Department of Ag called the Ag Land Preservation Program. And it just relaunched. There's $750,000 in it, but the hope was to get more regular funding in it. And it is meant to help land trusts purchase conservation easements for farmland. And so that 750 is still there, and in the program's open. So that's a big win. But the future of getting any other money in it is now in question, even though it is a bipartisan priority and was a hope until last fall. So it's hard to say. I just think that one repeal, that one change, that we're seeing the ripple effects of it. Yeah, so I'll say that. So if I was asked, like, if I had a magic wand that somehow the governor could do something about that, that would probably be it. But right now I answered in the chat that I really, I'm working on trying to meet with the governor or her team to just share the strategic plan and the information it has in it and all of the organizations doing this work, and getting creative about ways to move it forward. And when we started doing the plan, I had a moment where I thought, oh, everything in here is going to be $250,000 or more. And that was a little, and that's okay. When we started it, it's okay if a lot of it was things that have big price tags. There were so many recommendations that cost $0. And that is really encouraging to me, really meaningful ones. And so I almost wish we put that as a filter. And because there's a lot we can do without that. Although I do echo, I work a lot with Vermont and the support that they have as a food community through the state. Is really profound.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. Hannah and I just experienced some technical difficulties. But
I was rambling on and on. You can come back, take it back in.
Perfect. I'm wondering if there are any other questions from folks.
Franz, could I have a question or comment?
Yeah, of course.
Well, firstly, I must say, Nicole, the strategic plans aren't the kind of things that you pick up and read from cover to cover because it's exciting, right? But I must tell you, this is a really well put together plan, and I could really see how it can work. But Franz, kind of getting back to my question that I was coming to earlier. So what comes out of that plan for the Kearsarge Food Hub? And so one of the things that really struck me, we know that, we've been knowing that for a long time. If you look at the demographic of farmers in the state of New Hampshire and also in New England, I think the average age is 59, but that the rest of the demographic, in the next decade or so, decade or maybe 15 years or so, we're going to lose half of our farms. And that's just like the demographic reality. So I think that's where the Kearsarge Food Hub already is doing a phenomenal work in starting to cultivate farmers from second graders all the way through. But I can see that being a place where this organization should really put in effort to grow farmers and get farmers on the land.
Thank you, Leon. Thank you.
And I'll put the recommendation in the chat that I think Kearsarge is one of the ones that they're going to jump on when they do their strategic planning. And it's about apprenticeship programs and building a pipeline. And I think that we all can learn a lot from what you all have started there. So I'm sure there's many more, but there's one.
This is Barb, and I wrote a question in the chat, but maybe with the technical difficulty, you didn't see it. I'm wondering, Franz said we're going to miss the Main Street farm, so that makes it sound
Can you
like
hear?
it's going away. Is there anything we can do to keep that going? It seems so incredibly beneficial.
Yeah, it's a,
No.
sorry, guys. It's a good question. We're definitely very sad that that will no longer be on Main Street in New London, but there is a new farm that is starting up in Sutton, and Leon is supporting those new farmers. And I think one of the areas that we can, that there's a lot of opportunity is we can do a lot more gleaning, and we have some folks working on that. So that's a really great way to reduce waste that does happen on farms and channel that through food donation programs. Leon was really the nuts and bolts of the Main Street operation, and we did consider taking it on ourselves, but operationally just really wasn't a good fit, unfortunately, because of the distance.
And something we're really excited about is the network of new young farmers that are putting down roots in the Kearsarge area. As mentioned, our farm manager and co-founder Pierre has been mentoring, last year mentoring Sophia Noah Courser Kellerman, story to come in our annual report, which is coming out next week. Alprilla Farm in Warner, so that farm is getting up and running and starting their own kind of CSA. And then we also have Deacon Blue being mentored this year, who is putting down his own roots at a farm in Hillsborough. And we have Cassie and Jake. And so with this kind of farmer network, and certainly being all working together, we can crop plan potentially in the future to make sure that the channels that we need to be filled are filled in a certain way. We also have Greg Berger on the call here at Spring Ledge Farm. We work closely with Greg and just all of our farmers. You know, the value of building these relationships over time and understanding what it takes to do the farming itself means that we are going to be well positioned to coordinate our network of farmers in the Kearsarge area. And it is 7:30, and we just have a little last bit, unless there is.
No, let's keep it tight.
Thank you all so much for bearing with the technical difficulties, but hey, here we are. This is Zoom, and we have just one more little bit to share because, you know, as we saw in the financial report and just generally throughout this presentation, is that the community support makes this work possible. So we are launching our Grow With Us Spring Monthly Giving campaign in a little over a week. So you are the first to see that we are going to be offering this brand new Grow With Us travel mug to any folks who join our Grow With Us monthly giving program or anybody who gives $50 a month or more, if you can spare that. And also every single dollar in our monthly giving program nourishes the Kearsarge Food Hub mission, sends the dollars to the Food Hub for us then to implement into the programs that you've seen tonight. So we really, really encourage you. It is an easy set it and forget it kind of way, but you will be hearing from us because we love to report back to you on what your monthly donations support and keep in touch throughout the year. So we pledge to you as monthly donors that you will be hearing from us on a regular basis so that you can see exclusive looks at exactly what your donation supports.
Yeah, that's right. And just generally, folks ask, how can you help? Really, this work is about staying engaged. It's not a one and done, show up once. And obviously, I'm preaching to the choir. You are all here, but I really do think there's, wherever you are in the world, support your local farmers. They need it. Support your local food system workers. Cook food, enjoy, find the joy of cooking food. The more we engage with the work, the more we spread that joy and that excitement, the more the movement grows. And so, of course, subscribe to our newsletter, but also wherever you are, just enjoy the food system and enjoy the food.
And, I think Jake summarized it perfectly as being a farmer on the farm that also takes the time to prepare meals and eat food and tend to his body. Like we all need to take the space. Yes, stay engaged. Let's stay engaged in the ways and in the spaces that feel good to us. But also let's remember to take care of ourselves and take space and feed our bodies and whatever that looks like to be a resilient microcosm in the whole. And we are part of this beautiful community. We just want to end by saying thank you. Thank you so much to our sponsors from 2024 here on the screen, to our donors, to our partners, to our shoppers, and of course to all of you for taking the time to hop on Zoom with us tonight and spend an hour and a half of your time. We know there's a lot going on. We know your lives are full, and we so appreciate you tuning in with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.